when I was a kid myself, and living in the country of Franklinton, Louisiana, with my grandparents. And my grandfather had one cow, one mule. They had some chickens, I think a goat. But I was always impressed how we always had food to eat. And I didn't know we were poor at that time, but I think we were. But we always had plenty of food to eat. We had, they didn't own a car. My grandparents didn't own a car, but we always had a ride to wherever we needed to go. And the way my grandfather approached things in life, with very calm demeanor. A brilliant man in his time of life in that era, in the 50s. How he raised his crops, and how he was just able to take care of all of us in the way that he did with what he had to work with. So even as a kid, I was impressed by him, and I wanted to be like him. So what I wanted in life was to grow up, get married, and have a family, and have kids of my own. And so that was kind of my goal in life at that point. Because I think that's what survival was, that's what life was, I think, during those times. And I saw that through him and wanted to be like him, and that was be a father and be a good father. And so my own father was away in Korea when I was very young, and so I didn't have the relationship with him that I had with my grandfather. And my relationship with my own father was kind of distant, because my dad was a army guy, and I guess my grandfather was too, but he wasn't like my own dad. He was, he had a distance between, and so we never really connected the way me and my grandfather did. So I kind of learned from my grandfather how to be a father, want to be a father, and from my own father how not to do, things that he, God rest his soul, he passed away a year ago, but I think he would even agree himself. That's just the way he was. He was, he had to be the he-man, the macho type, and he was afraid to, I think, let himself be a father, because in the way that my grandfather was. Okay. So, but anyway, long story short, yeah, I wanted to be like my grandfather. So I was aware of fatherhood even as a kid, and that carried over to my adult life.
Now, you've got your son sitting beside you, and, most fathers, proud fathers, feel that way because they have weathered some of the ups and the downs, raising their son. Raising your son, how would you describe some of the most difficult times, and how'd you get through those times?
Well, he's always been a good kid, and I think him and his older sister, I think I had to spank her one time, as I recall, and him, maybe, if at all, it wasn't more than one time. Because it was always, I could do it with the voice.
Can you recall? I think it was a few more times than one, yeah.
I think, it was more than one. I chose you to be my best man at our wedding. And I guess I never really told you why I picked you over maybe friends and relatives. But the reason I picked you is because you're the only person in my life that I know will always be there. No matter what I do, no matter whether it's good, bad, indifferent, if I go up or down, you're always steady, and you're always there for me. And that's why I picked you, and that's what I aspire to be in my life too, because even people that you interact with, the one thing they'll say about you is that you're always steady and you're always there. And that's one thing that I've always admired in you, and always tried to.
I guess I don't say all of the time, like I said earlier, how proud I am of what you've accomplished and the young man that you've grown up to be. And I guess I never expected. I can't imagine you being anyone other than who you are, and that's just because of the way that you've always been, always listened. and just it never gave me any grief, and I guess when I think about it, it's just that I thank God again, because that's where it all starts for me. I thank God for you. I pray twice a day, and I continue to pray for God, for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and guidance for you, for Nicole, for our whole family, for everybody. But especially, I give thanks every day for the young man that you have become and who you are. A lot of the things that you say about me, people say the same thing, and I see that, and I know that. So, and I don't say that all the time, I guess, because it's already there. You know what I mean? And it's obvious. And I think that even when you got ready to pick, your a wife, I think that's what you did, and that was, I know you have, your girlfriends and everything, but when I saw the decision that you made, and there was no question that I didn't have to say, we didn't have to have that talk or nothing like that, because I watched your decision and how you made it, and what you chose, And so all I do is just say thank God, thank the Lord, and I see you. So there just hasn't been a whole lot to really say, because you.
Well, what was it like for you having your dad there, knowing that your dad was always there for you?
It was great, and it's funny. I never really heard him talk about his grandfather that way, but now I kind of understand why he was the way he was with us growing up, because he was always kind of calm, laid back. No matter what we did, we got into trouble. We did things that weren't always on the right path, but he never kind of came down with an iron fist. It was always more of teaching and kind of leading more so than, an iron fist. That's after we got older. And so now I kind of understand where you got that from. Yeah. A little bit more, and why you kind of raised us that way. But it's funny because I have friends that didn't have that growing up. And it's something that I've never dealt without, and it's impossible to relate to someone that's been in that situation. But for me, it's one thing that I don't take for granted, especially now that I've gotten older, and I've learned to appreciate the fact that I have a father that's always has been, and that I know will always be there. And it's not even a doubt, and it makes a lot. I think it's made a big difference for me in my life, and I think when I become a father, it'll make a big difference in the way I approach that too.